One calm sentence, delivered without anger, sarcasm, or drama, completely changed the tone of the room. When Cher looked at Dax Shepard and said, "You must have something I don't see," it wasn't an insult, and it wasn't a joke. It was a moment of quiet honesty that revealed far more than a heated argument ever could. What made this moment especially compelling is that it wasn't about controversy or conflict, but about trust, respect, and how we evaluate relationships from the outside. The question is not why Cher said it, but what she actually meant, and why Dax's response mattered more than most people realize. The moment took place during a recent episode of Dax Shepard's podcast, Armchair Expert, where the 79-year-old music icon appeared as a guest. From the beginning, the conversation was open and surprisingly self-aware. Dax didn't shy away from acknowledging that Cher has never exactly hidden the fact that she isn't his biggest fan. There was no tension in the air, no hostility, just mutual honesty and a shared understanding that the discussion could go somewhere interesting. At one point, Dax asked a question that could have easily turned uncomfortable. Referring to his wife, actress Kristen Bell, he asked Cher who her dream partner would be for Kristen. He even added that he knows Cher thinks Kristen could do better, and admitted that he doesn't necessarily disagree. That moment alone said a lot. Instead of defending himself or deflecting, Dax positioned himself as someone willing to be examined, not protected. Cher's response is what truly shifted the conversation. She didn't suggest another person, didn't list Dax's shortcomings, and didn't criticize their marriage. Instead, she said that the truth is she trusts Kristen. And because she trusts Kristen, Dax must have something she doesn't see. On the surface, the statement sounded polite, even generous, but beneath it was something far more meaningful. Cher wasn't questioning Kristen Bell's value. In fact, she was doing the opposite. She was treating Kristen's judgment as the highest authority in the room. By saying she trusts Kristen's choice, Cher placed the responsibility not on Dax to prove himself, but on the assumption that Kristen is fully capable of choosing the right partner for herself. The only unknown variable, in Cher's eyes, was Dax, not because he was lacking, but because he was less familiar to her. This distinction is subtle, but important. Instead of framing the situation as "you are not good enough for her," Cher framed it as "she is too intelligent to make a careless choice." That shift turns criticism into respect. It also explains why the moment resonated so strongly with listeners. There was no judgment, only acknowledgement of autonomy. Cher then reflected on when she first met Kristen Bell while filming Burlesque in 2010, alongside Christina Aguilera and Stanley Tucci. At the time, Kristen and Dax were already engaged. Cher admitted she didn't even know who Kristen was back then, but what stood out to her immediately was Kristen's presence and professionalism. She described getting along with her easily, feeling a natural connection, and developing a genuine respect for her. These comments weren't exaggerated or sentimental. They were observational, grounded, and consistent with how Cher tends to speak about people she respects. Years later, Kristen and Dax are married, share 2 daughters, and have built a reputation for being unusually open about therapy, conflict, and personal growth. Their relationship has never been presented as perfect, but it has been presented as intentional. That context makes Dax's response to Cher's comment especially significant. Instead of highlighting his career, his role as a provider, or his longevity in the relationship, he focused on one specific trait. He said he is not threatened by Kristen's success, and that the more she shines, the better he feels. This wasn't a rehearsed line or a performative statement. It aligned with how Dax has spoken about his marriage for years. Cher immediately recognized that quality. She compared it to her own partner, Alexander Asa A.E. Edwards, explaining that the more she shines, the more he feels like he wins. Kristen Bell then summed up the dynamic with a simple phrase, describing men who polish you so you shine more. It was a quiet but powerful way to describe a relationship built on support rather than competition. No one raised their voice. No one tried to dominate the conversation. There was no defensiveness, no escalation, and no attempt to turn the moment into drama. Instead, it became a rare example of adults discussing relationships with nuance and emotional intelligence, even when opinions differed. In the end, this moment wasn't about whether Dax Shepard is good enough for Kristen Bell. It was about how we often misinterpret judgment when it's actually trust, and how respect sometimes sounds uncomfortable because it removes our need to prove ourselves. Cher's comment wasn't a dismissal, but a reminder that strong relationships are often built on qualities that aren't immediately visible from the outside. The larger question this raises is how often we underestimate the quiet dynamics that make partnerships work, and how rarely public conversations allow space for that complexity. If this exchange revealed anything, it's that admiration doesn't always come wrapped in praise, and confidence doesn't always need defense. And that opens the door to a deeper discussion. How do successful couples manage ego, visibility, and growth over time, especially under public scrutiny? That's a conversation worth continuing, and it's exactly where the next story begins.